welcome to Chat About It, Don't Chat About It. My name is Rachel. Thank you very much for joining me. Apologies if the lighting is a little bit weird. I'm filming this at my parents' house because I unexpectedly had to attend a party. So I never live streamed this weekend or made any edited videos. So we have this shoddy one, I'm afraid. I love Doctor Who. The 60th anniversary has been this weekend. And, well, they certainly made sure that they were back. I am a classic Who fan, of course. My favourite Doctor is Doctor number 6, Colin Baker. That's quite controversial to opinion. I know a lot of people prefer Tom Baker. But that aside, let's talk about this weekend's episode, The Star Beast. And believe me, it's not as hot topic as everybody is saying. This isn't going to be your average blow-by-blow absolute review of the entire episode that you would see because, well, this is Chat About It, Don't Shout About It, and there have been some things that have been brought into this episode that need to be talked about specifically. And boy, oh boy, some people, in fact, actually, I know a lot of people will not like what I have to say, but as a classic Who fan, I feel like it is very important for me to say it. And I'm going to say it, whether you like it or not, which actually, predictably, is much like the attitude of this entire episode in itself. You're going to get it whether you like it or not. Let's talk about the opening. A lot of people are saying that the opening really shouldn't have been that at all. That should have happened later on in the episode. The recap. That's what should have happened later on. That's what they're saying. Now, I actually disagree. That was the correct place to put it. It could have been shorter, and I don't like the fact that the Doctor was actually floating in space, but that was the right place to put it. Get it in, get it said, get it done, get it out of the way. Don't focus on it. Get on with the actual storytelling. What was really good about this episode was a return to a lot of practical effects. One of the things about classic Who is for the most part, it relied on practicality because obviously it's, 1960s, 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s. You don't have the skills that you have to do on green screen and blue screen and whatever it is as you would today. So you had to make it work in some way. And I always felt like with RTD, he tried to, even when he first wrote this, the series way back when it returned, he tried to keep it as practical as possible without relying on green screen, blue screen, whatever. One of my major concerns about the actual return of Donna Noble was that they were going to go back to almost like Runaway Bride Donna Noble, where originally she was only brought in for that one episode, but then they decided to bring her back, so they had to flesh her out and make her a proper character. But they've actually developed her even more since then. The production team, they've worked on developing her, and it's very clear from Catherine Tate's acting that she has also focused on developing Donna in that way. And it was great to see her working as a mother as well. And it was great to see her back with the Doctor. It was so good. And it was just almost like they'd never been away, except for, Donna's just got a bit more of an arc to her than what she had back in series 4. For me, though, the standout character in this episode, and a lot of people have said it already, the standout character is Sylvia. Jacqueline King has given her best performance so far as Sylvia. Her performance in it was phenomenal. The writing for her was just so on par. It's like it hadn't forgotten the original Sylvia, but it has also progressed her. She's gotten older. She's gotten more accepting of Donna. And yeah, she really was the standout performance in this episode. However, Rose, I felt, was a little bit too deep. She wasn't as well fleshed out as she could have been. And I don't know if that is a writing choice or if that was an acting choice, but I felt like she needed more work. But I don't know if it was writing or if it was acting choices. If you think you know what it might be, then let me know in the comments below. But I just don't feel like she was well fleshed out and well rounded enough as a character. Now that could be, maybe later on in another episode, something happens that makes her more like well rounded. But I think this is her main episode. So I would have liked to have seen that more sort of like prominence other than the meta crisis, which I will be getting to later. The sonic screwdriver. I have a bugbear about the sonic screwdriver. I have ever since Classic Who. I actually think the sonic screwdriver is just there for lazy writing. It was so underwhelming, like drawing up all of these things, like looking for them up. You're trying to be creative with it and all of that, but it just did not hit the mark. And to be honest with you, I want it gone again. Get rid of it. We didn't have it with 5, 6, and I don't think we had it with 7. I can't remember. Just get rid of it altogether. Scrap it. It just makes for lazy writing. I found that with Jodie's Doctor, when it kept breaking, that just made it, even though I wasn't a big fan of the writing for Jodie, I felt like that made it a bit more interesting because the writing had to be a bit more creative in a way for her Doctor to get around the situations. Unfortunately, the return of a fully functioning sonic screwdriver, which of course makes sense for David Tennant's Doctor, it's just lazy writing. Get rid of it. Get it gone. I hate it. You have the return of the Dr. Donna. Of course, it was to be expected. Was it to be expected this much sooner? I don't know, actually. One thing that I do think that they have started doing is overusing regeneration. The Doctor in the special that he did with Wilf, remember the name of it. The special that he did with Wilf, he actually mentions that he did install 1 regeneration for Donna, just in case something like that would happen and cause her to remember. So my question is, what? So he installed more than 1 regeneration? Did she just keep going poof, 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 that every time she remembered something? Is that what kept happening? Or like, is it just her missing the bigger picture, like, the Donna Noble that never travelled with the Doctor always missed? What I did like was the fact that Donna passed the meta crisis on to her daughter Rose, so they biologically share the meta crisis, and that helps in the resolution of defeating Meep. Now, all of that aside, let's talk about what I really want to talk about with Doctor Who that I don't think people have really touched upon. This is Chat About It, Don't Shout About It, and whilst I've given my opinion on a lot of the things that have happened in this episode, gender identity politics. Now, I'll be clear. You can be he, she, they, them, sie, zers, whatever pronoun you use. Go ahead and use it. That's fine. If you want to integrate it into Doctor Who, that's also fine. However, it's the way that you do it. And I had a problem with the way it was done. Let's talk about Rose first. Rose is a trans woman. That's absolutely fine. I've got no issue with a trans woman being in Doctor Who whatsoever. I'm always up against trans women for acting jobs as well, so it's nothing new here for me. He highlighted some of the difficulties surrounding trans people with things like dead naming and accidentally misgendering. That scene between, and I think this is really what gave me Sylvia's standout performance in the whole entire her whole entire arc, was the accidental misgendering, accidentally calling Rose he instead of she, and then apologizing for it. That, as an older generation person, is a very natural thing to do. In actual fact, it's natural for a lot of family members to do. And it was highlighted, and it was handled very delicately, and it actually flowed within the story. And I appreciated how that flowed. It didn't juxtaposition anything that was going on in the story. It added some context to Rose's character. And to be quite frank, with the gender politics, it wasn't in your face, and it didn't need to go any further. It really didn't. But of course, it did. And much like with the Davros and the wheelchair and the tough attitude, I feel like this is RTD saying, F you, you're getting it whether you like it or not. And like I say, it's all about how you do it rather than integrating it naturally. If you integrate it naturally, like how you integrated Rose naturally and talked about Rose and addressed Rose, then people are much more accepting of that than with what Rose says later on to the doctor. Trans activism, as we all know, in this present moment in time in the world is actually very, very strong. People do not like having other people assume their pronouns. And this was put into the episode where the doctor refers to Beep the Meep with a pronoun, and Rose essentially says something along the lines of, why are you assuming Beep the Meep's pronouns? Firstly, that's extremely rude. Secondly, it added nothing to the plot. Thirdly, it was so jarring that I actually lost focus. I couldn't concentrate on the episode because the enforcement of that one line and the fact that Beep the Meep refers to themselves as the Meep, it was unnecessary. It wasn't needed. If you're going to integrate gender and gender ideologies, then integrate it naturally. Don't ram it down our throats. We don't need we don't need that dialogue. That dialogue wasn't necessary, and it's actually very rude. And there are a lot of older generation people who are a lot older than I am who watch Doctor Who still to this day who wouldn't actually appreciate it. This whole attitude of tough, we're doing it whether you like it or not, it actually stinks, in my opinion. If you're willing to integrate it naturally and just do it as if it was a natural process, much like there's a non-binary character in the recent series of Good Omens, how that was integrated just naturally and how it was done naturally within the dialogue, then I don't take much notice. But of course, that wasn't the only instance that we actually had. So Rose is if I've got this correct, she's a non-binary trans woman, or at that sort of stage, that's what she was, even though she was referred to as she the whole entire time. Have I got that right? I don't know, actually. Have I? Who knows? Someone correct me if that's wrong. The binary that Donna starts doing links in to Rose, and she starts going, non-binary. Why was that needed? Seriously, can someone actually clarify why that was needed, other than gender identity politics? Binary being the activation word, as to Donna remembering absolutely everything, turning into the Dr. Donna. But do we really need to link it to non-binary? Rose could have just gone, binary. Oh, the meta-crisis is also activated in her mind, so therefore she starts doing what, sort of like the Dr. Rose, whatever it is, special meta-crisis that she is doing, right? It doesn't have to be linked to non-binary. And I really did not like that line from Donna. This is probably one of my least favourite lines, where she talks about male doctor, female Dr. Donna, so therefore Rose is in between, non-binary. Stop enforcing it on us. We know Rose is trans. Do you really need to hammer it in there and go, screw you, public? No, you're just feeding into trans activism now. That's what you are feeding into. Yes, people can identify how they want, but don't ram it down our throats. Oh, I keep repeating that. The remark of male presenting to the doctor, I don't find that appropriate, because actually that just sort of, in my opinion, makes him less of a man. He might not be a man. But then they confirmed just that seconds earlier that he is a man. So why did we suddenly need to say male presenting? Why? Because the doctor being male is offensive? I thought that there was a big difference between male and male presenting. You essentially, by putting in those contradictory terms, in my opinion, demasculate, if that's even a word, you demasculate David Tennant's doctor. Aside from the demasculization of the doctor, the letting go of the meta-crisis, and it's with regards to women let's talk about women in general now. That's not actually something that women would do very naturally. If you want me to be honest with you, women do not let things go. If RTD really knew what he was talking about, there's no way that meta crisis would have fully gone. Now, let's bring it back to the gender identity politics, because that let it go a bit. It was very much a gender politics thing. I noticed it. I don't know how many other people really noticed it, other than the demasculinization of the Doctor with the male presenting comments. They encompassed women as a very general term. And the one thing that women are trying to fight against recently is that there has been a very much blurring of the line of what a woman actually is. Now, a woman, just to be clear, is a biological woman, biologically female. That is a woman. Trans woman is originally a biological man who is normally diagnosed with gender dysphoria and makes the transition into a woman. Their experience of their version of womanhood is extremely different from a biological woman. So it encompass them in that one bit alone. That's actually very insulting to biological women, I think, in my opinion. And it's a smash in the face. It's like, women, this is what you're actually going to have to accept, whether you like it or not. And men, we're also going to just call you male presenting. We're going to be quite derogatory towards you, because at the end of the day, what is a woman? I don't approve of that kind of gender identity politics. I'm sorry. I just don't. And I don't like the fact that it's in Doctor Who. Because it's coming from RTD and he's very much a champion for them, people are like, yeah, we'll be like, yeah, more of it, do it. Let me be clear, that's not what everyone wants. Or at least they don't want it shoved down your throat like that. Like I say, integrate it naturally, but just don't ram it down. Let me know what you think. Of course, you may strongly disagree with what I have just said. Shout about it, don't shout about it. Subscribe to my channel. Be nice in the comments, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.